are at Salinas, and today we are talking about rice, as you can see in front of us. But with the popularity of paella, have other rice dishes kind of gotten overshadowed a little bit?
I think when we talk about, in general, Spanish cuisine, we always think in two cliches, tapas and paella. But when tapas have evolved for the last 30 years, paella don't really just go to that level. So I started to do some research 5 years ago to develop all related rices, and I saw how Spanish rices and the original paella is very flexible.
Let's start with the actual rice, because I think that when we're thinking of paella, we sort of get stuck in this one lane. What are the different types of rices you can use to create a curated dish? Because obviously I think for a lot of Americans, rice is sort of a side, it's something that we don't sort of put front and center. What types of rices really lend themselves to being the meat of the dish?
I mean, there are different rices, and every rice can be used for different preparations. Medium short grains are the ones that absorb normally a higher proportion of liquid, so they absorb more flavor. And longer rices absorb less flavor, but normally do not overcook that easily, so are used more as a garnish. So what we are doing in Spain mostly is use medium short grains. Rices like bomba, right, will be maybe the one that people know most, but also senia.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the technique for cooking rice, because I think people get this idea with paella of it's just okay, you let it sit, you get the crunchy part on the bottom. What are the different methodologies that you're using here?
I mean, there's just like the traditional, let's say, steps, and then the new techniques. The method cooking of rice can be altered. So when traditional paella normally is just cooked with sofrito, that is just caramelized onions, peppers, and is slightly sauté, and it's just there are some proteins into it. And at the end of the process, there is the broth and the rice on top. There are people that think that the rice should be just added at the beginning. So everybody have their own technique. But for example, you see here, we are using different kind of techniques when it comes to paella. This paella jauna is cooked first in a traditional paella pot, and after the first 6 minutes of cooking, what we do is just put it in this paella pan in order to individualize the rice and to create a kind of cross on top instead of the bottom. Instead of having a sauerkraut at the bottom that you were talking about, right. Then this is just actually on the top, and you get a deeper flavor and I think a combination of flavors that actually are just are infused one with each other, and the proportion of rice is smaller than a regular one, so you get a lot of flavor with this one. This is a combination of bomba rice, baksemi rice, a Korean rice, that also is a combination of sweet rice and a brown rice. What allows us to actually is just to create this nice sear. We make basically like an Spanish risotto with Spanish cheese, and then we just make these little round molds, and then we can sear. You can see it's just completely crispy at the outside. Right. That is because the baksemi rice. The technique that we use here is completely different. We just will cook it. In Spain we have non-stick paella pans. Here it's more difficult to find, so I use this pan that is non-stick. So I just cook the rice. In this case, this is an octopus rice with oxtail. I just make oxtail and octopus broth, and I just start the cooking technique by beginning to cook the oxtail that is already pressed, the octopus, the rice, the sofrito, and everything is cooked for about 10 to 15 minutes. After resting, we actually sear the bottom, and what we get at the bottom is a really caramelized bottom. So it's just a really light sauerkraut. That is what the people a lot of times are looking for. And this will be just a black rice that we're going to be served tableside. This will be the base black rice. This is squid and sepia, and then it's going to be served with a little bit of poached ventresca. That is just, so we can use in this case the paella or the rice as a garnish. We can just do paella that have different textures with the caramelized bottom, a crispy paella or a very flavorful paella with, in this case, duck and mushrooms that have the crust on top instead of the bottom.
And for people who want to get started, making their own rice dishes at home, what are the biggest mistakes that you can sort of steer people away from?
Rice never waits for you. You had to wait for rice. The process of medium short grain rice from Spain normally takes like 20 minutes. Then we had to buy really high quality ingredients. That doesn't mean that we had to buy very expensive ingredients. High quality means just vegetable from the farmer's market, a high quality rice, good proteins, and at the end of the day, we're not talking about a very expensive item. We're talking about something that is done right with the right ingredients. But again, timing is very important. And just put a lot of love.
And what are the buzzwords that people should look for? Because for people watching this who say, I go to the store and I just pick out rice, sort of, you mentioned the medium grain. Are there certain things that sort of indicate that quality for those who don't know?
I can tell you just different varieties of rice that can work. You can do paella with a bomba. We can do a calasparra.
Thank you so much for kind of giving us this primer for making Spanish rice beyond just basic paella. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And obviously, if you want some of this, you can always come into Salinas because we can't quite make this at home.